All right, Bears fans, welcome back. Bear Down. We're going to get right into this today. Talk about, is it worth it to draft Caleb Williams or to trade down a little bit and to be able to get more picks based off of my video this morning of what could happen still. It's not out of the works that we could still trade with Washington, guys. It's 100% a possibility. Ryan Poles has made it known he is moving on and picking his own quarterback. That's the stamp and staple he's made. He's going to pick a quarterback. But he's also said he likes to build through the draft. And as you see on the screen there, we only have 4 picks. It's well known. This is where we are right now. But we have more needs to fill. Primary need now is quarterback. There is no greater need we have on this team to fill than a quarterback. Then a wide receiver 3. People might disagree with that because they think, oh, we've got DJ Moore, we've got Keenan Allen, we've got 2 stars, we've got 2 superstars. Well, one of those is on a 1-year contract, one's on a 2-year contract, and we have nobody else. We have a very depleted wide receiver room still. And until we start focusing on that in the draft, we will forever be known as the franchise that doesn't have that and doesn't have a 4,000-yard passer. We have to pick a wide receiver, potentially 2, in this loaded wide receiver class. We have to. This class is known as a wide receiver class, so it has to be done. All right, then center. I say none, but we have a starting center, so I shouldn't put that, but we need a long-term solution. Right now we have a 1-year decent middle-of-the-pack center. We don't have a real star center. And then we have a backup with Bates, who's really a guard backup. So we need a backup center either way. So we need a center. We need another wide receiver. It's depth. That might not necessarily need to be a starter. We have Tyler Scott at 4. So that probably should be on depth, but to make it look nice, we have 4 on each side. On depth, we do not have a 4th defensive interior. We have to have a 4th. That could be from a undrafted free agent with the way things are going right now. Who knows? We need a better guard for a backup 4th guard. Ja'Tyre Carter is not cutting the mustard. And then we need a tackle. And Ryan Poles has already said this is a deep tackle class. He intends to take one. So I'm going to take it to the bank from that. And Larry Borum is awful. He's terrible. He needs to be off the team. So I expect him to be cut. Plus, he saved some salary cap. His salary is about $3 million that we'd save, but you compare that against a league minimum contract or a rookie contract, and it's only going to save about $2 million plus, but it's still worth it. And then we don't have a tight end 3, and we need to replace defensive end Dominic Robinson. We have 5 on the roster right now, but Dominic needs to go, and we really could use someone that can compete with DeMarcus Walker on the other side. I've told you guys I'm going to make a video about DeMarcus Walker and how he's done since the Tez effect has come in, since Tez Sweat has come in. He has played at a very starter quality, but overall for the year, he was probably the 80th ranked. Don't take that as gospel, but it's in that range. But played significantly better when Sweat got here. So he's really high 40s, 30, 50-ish once you consider that Sweat effect. But he's not. So, I mean, to really have a dominant defense, you need 2 bookend defensive ends. So I put that between starter and depth because Walker will work this year while we're still rebuilding. We've obviously made it known that we're focusing on the now with a quarterback, and trading down might be a hard thing. But this video is going to focus on that. So here's our needs. We got 9 of them. We only have 4 draft picks, and we're only signing league minimum guys at this point. So my proposal was the Bears still trade with the Commanders and get a very equal across the board as far as the Rich Hill trade value chart compensation. Commanders know we still want to draft a quarterback high. They want to jump up and get Caleb. Here's the compensation for it. Maybe it's even one less 3rd rounder, but really this is fair to be able to jump up to the number 1 spot and get the guy that you want. So 1, 2, 240, 378, 3100, and a 2nd round pick. If you guys don't think that's a fair value, look at my video from this morning. It'll break it down and show you how that is really, really right across the board, almost fair, right across with the Rich Hill trade value chart. All right, so here's the premise. We're going to split the screen in half. We're going to do 2 drafts. Number 1, draft Caleb Williams, overall number 1. Number 2, trade down, draft Jayden Daniels, number 2. And with that hypothetical that I just proposed, on the left we have 1, 1, 1, 9, 375, and 4, 122. And on the right we have 1, 2, 1, 9, 240, 375, 378, 3100, 4, 122, and a future 2nd round pick. So there's our premise. But if Caleb Williams is generational, if he's this truly generational Pat Mahomes talent, it doesn't matter picking up those other picks. But if Jayden Daniels is deemed just as worthy in Ryan Poles' eyes and he sees that he ran a pro-style offense at LSU, he's taken snaps under center and in shotgun. He has wide open field, and he has the same style of play as you're going to see a lot in the NFL, and he faced a bunch of the SEC-style defenses that are a lot elite, more competition, and he excelled, and he played the top-level ball, and he won the Heisman in that. Maybe, just maybe, floating it out there, Ryan Poles says, these guys are 1A and 1B, and I'm happy with either one. I'm going to trade back, and I'm going to hit the Hall. Now, if you're asking me my opinion at this point, I think it's 90% that we're taking Caleb Williams. But we still have to go through pro days. You still have to have the visits to Hallis Hall. You still got to drill them down. You got to have them take the playbook. You have to get them on the whiteboard, explaining what they remember, what they recall, what they did in this situation. Look at their own film and have them explain it. See their football knowledge and really break them down. And that is going to be a shining moment for what Ryan Poles sees. So if anybody's saying Ryan Poles has 100% decided what he's going to do, they're lying. Now, he might be leaning very heavily one way, but this is still very much open, and he could surprise everyone and take somebody that they're not expecting. So let's go through this. Here we go. The first overall pick on the left side, Caleb Williams, quarterback, USC. Second, the first pick for the Bears, trading down, getting the second pick overall, Jayden Daniels, quarterback, LSU. So here's the premise of this whole video. From here, we'll go with the rest of the picks. Excuse me. We're not going to run through too long. I'm just going to get through, and you guys will see how it ends up in the end. On both of these scenarios, I think the Bears are in a prime position at 9 to trade down and get a little more draft capital. The best one for that is probably the Raiders. Rich Hill trade value right across the board. This is very equal. Yes, it's not the haul, and it's not glorious, but it does give the Bears more value. Trading down 4 spots, picking up a third rounder in this loaded class, and getting a 6th rounder, a late round pick. We don't love those, but they do give us depth. They give us options when we need to fill roles. So in both scenarios, we're doing this. And in both scenarios, we're going to take Brian Thomas Jr., wide receiver out of LSU. If you guys watched my other video on Brian Thomas, you'll understand why I love him so much. He is developmental, but he is at a high level, and he's a high point contested catch guy who runs extremely quick, and when he gets an open field, he's going to be dangerous. He is fun to watch, and I would love to see him as a Bear. To me, he's my 3rd receiver in this class. Most people have him as a clear-cut 4. If we don't take him before the Colts at 15, I guarantee the Colts will take him at 15. He will be off the board. So, in both scenarios, we're taking Brian Thomas. We're getting a wide receiver to stock our wide receiver room. We have to have an X receiver either ways. I'm really sold on this, and I think Ryan Poles is probably seeing this too. I really hope he is. He might be thinking edge at 9, 10, 11, 12. This is going to be the big surprise on draft day is what we do right here, and I'm really pulling for wide receiver Brian Thomas Jr. All right, next, from the trade down, we get an extra pick in the 2nd round. We're going to stock the back of that center. We're going to have an option for the Bears to develop and probably start near the second half of the year. We know that Coleman Shelton is a 1-year deal. He's a starter from the Rams. Not the highest quality starter. His pass blocking was pretty suspect last year, but he was a starter and he was rated decently high. So I absolutely think we'd start the year with him, but if we have an option like this where we can bring a center in as highly rated as Zach Frazier, who didn't allow very many pass rushers, sacks, hits, or hurry all of his last year, I think it's a great option for the Bears. So 100% I like this. All right, next. Both have our own pick at 75, and we need an edge, and I really like Brandon Dorlus at this point in the draft. If we're not taking one at 9, this is a great option down at 75. So I've got us taking Brandon Dorlus, edge out of Oregon. All right, next. We're going to take with the trade down that we made from 9 to 13, the extra pick we get there, we're both going to take Mason Smith, defensive interior out of LSU, be able to rotate in with Andrew Billings. I really think Gervon Dexter is the clear-cut starter at 3-tech. I'm going to do some stuff on him too, but the way he played in the second half of the year, the way he came on, his tackling took a little bit of hit from him putting his head down and bull rushing more, but he played more like Jalen Carter, and with Washington coming in, Eric Washington coming in and working with him, I really think there's something special with Gervon Dexter. So you're going to see some big things. If you haven't seen, go look at his Twitter, his hype videos. He's been working out. He is cut. He's chiseled. So I'm excited for what can come in that sophomore year for him. All right, the extra pick that we get from trading down from 1 overall to 2, we're going to get Kieran Abangaji, offensive tackle out of Yale. And I think that's the best I've ever done with pronouncing his name, so pat on my own back. But he is rising boards. He is a really solid pass blocking tackle, and he would absolutely from day one bring in competition with Braxton Jones to either take his job or to be the swing tackle, but have depth at swing tackle instead of having to have Larry Borum. This is a great option for the Bears, and I really like the idea of having that. All right, next, with the other pick that we get from trading down, we're going to pick up guard depth, Zach Zinter. A lot of you know from my other mocks before the big news came out, Zach Zinter is one of my favorites. Before the injury, he was really solid. I think that gives us wonderful depth to be able to get rid of Tyree Carter, and now our depth is getting stacked and solid. He probably wouldn't be ahead of Bates on the depth chart right off the beginning of the year, but as he gets some experience and he gets to be able to play a little bit more, this would be someone that could possibly replace Nate Davis next year, depending on how Nate Davis does this year, because Nate Davis's contract is very team-friendly to be able to cut him if he doesn't cut the mustard this year. All right, in both scenarios, at 4-1-22, we're going to take our tight end 3. Tight ends take time to develop. Having him come in behind Cole Kmet and behind Gerald Everett is just amazing. He's a well-balanced tight end. Receiving, blocking, everything to do with being a tight end. Ben Sennett is really a great prospect. So if we can snag him in the 4th round in both scenarios, I'm doing it. All right, and then in both scenarios, we traded down, again, from 9 to 13. This is what we got from the Raiders. And we're getting Hayden Hatton. If you haven't looked into him, look into him. I've done a couple of mock drafts with him. He shined at the Reese's Bowl at the East-West Shrine, and he really put on a show, and so he's garnered some attention. High point guy, really a solid late-round prospect. Kind of like a Puka Nacua style of thing that could happen. Now, I'm not saying he's going to be Puka Nacua, guys. That's not what I'm alluding to. But Puka Nacua kind of came out of nowhere from BYU. He didn't put up the numbers at BYU. Hayden Hatton actually had decent numbers, decent size, really quick, good, solid route running. Just came from a small school, so some people might be overlooking him. So Hayden Hatton would be a great option to fill out the wide receiver room to have some depth there. All right, so here's how they stack up. We did trade down once on the left side. We traded down twice on the right side. Once with both picks in the first round, 1 and 9. And on the left side, we traded down with 9. We end up filling some decent needs here. We didn't really get the swing tackle covered or the guard covered. We're stuck with Larry Borum and Tyree Carter. But hopefully Bates helps with that. And we're able to handle a healthy season would be this scenario. But we got our defensive end to be able to come rotate in with DeMarcus Walker, and I think he's a solid defensive end in the 3rd round. We got a defensive interior to be able to learn under Andrew Billings and to rotate in there. We got our tight end 3, we got our quarterback, and we got 2 wide receivers. So I'm satisfied. Like if we end up doing this with Caleb Williams, guys, I'm happy. I'm really excited for this season. Now I think because a lot of people know I'm so high on Justin Fields, they think I'm disappointed with Caleb. I'm not. I just didn't expect this being the path that we went. But if this mock draft plays out and we get these 6 draft picks, 2 in the first, 2 in the 3rd, a 4th, and a 6th, and it's these guys, I'm actually pretty happy. But if Ryan Poles sees Jayden Daniels as equal as Caleb Williams, the green are the ones that are differentiated from that trade down from 1-1 to 1-2. This would make me extremely elated to be able to have the trade down still if he sees Jayden Daniels as Caleb Williams. If he sees a situation that's similar to Joe Burrow and Tua Tagovailoa and Justin Herbert, if he sees that type of situation, he says, okay, I'll trade down. I'll do that for these extra players because I need a center, I need a tackle, I need a guard, and I can use a future 2nd-round pick. Then I'm excited for this because Jayden Daniels, to have 2 wide receivers in the draft, a tackle, a guard, a center. In our first draft on the left, we didn't end up getting a center. Thought about editing out that faint little daddy you hear in the background, but you know what, guys? I'm proud to be a bear dad, and there's a lot of fun things about this channel, and me being a bear dad is one of them. So, guys, let me know what you think about this draft. It's a lot of fun for me to put it together, but I really am excited about what might happen this next month. Nobody knows what's going to happen yet. If they say they do, they don't. Anything could happen. So that question is worth posing. Is it worth it to come off of Caleb Williams to get the haul that we would get for that? I don't know. I really don't know yet. I don't know the answer to that. Until next time, bear down.